This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Formula. This is week 11 of the NFL season. Today, we're going to be going over the DraftKings mains slate, giving you our favorite plays at each position. And then at the end, we will build a Million Maker lineup. And in hopes that one of these weeks, we're all semi-rich.
Yeah, we'll get there. We are on a heater, though. I will say we've been winning a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of winning going on in DFS.
Collectively, we're probably up to like 14,000 on the year, mostly for PPB, but
I mean, I'm up 14 grand just from my in-game NBA bets.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now
let's go to quarterbacks.
All right. Starting at the top, who are you guys' favorite quarterbacks in the expensive tier?
Well, with the Buffalo game getting removed from Buffalo now, that does put Josh Allen into play. I'm not saying he's one of my favorites because, he is very pricey and I think there's better value underneath of him. So for the higher end pick, I'm going to say Lamar Jackson against Carolina, just with his pure rushing upside, maybe not his passing against the Carolina defense.
He's $100 cheaper.
I think it's more of a better. You're right.
Like just based off of what you were saying about the price.
I
have both of them in my pool. Like I usually every week. Last week I really narrowed it down to only two guys. I just focused on that Chiefs Kansas City game. Mahomes side did all right. They both of them did all right, but you just needed Justin Fields, obviously. I think if he didn't go off, I think Lawrence or Mahomes could have been in a more optimal lineups. But I usually have 5 quarterbacks in my player pool, and this week might be 4, but we'll talk about the last guy.
Yeah.
Bottom. But yeah, I have Allen and Lamar.
Okay. Nick, what about you?
All right. So here's my thing. Josh Allen has not put up more than 30 points in a game since week 6, and his elbow's a little bit in question, even though he's still playing. So for me, I'm kind of fading Josh Allen for the foreseeable future until he gets really hot again. When he's scoring in the 20s, I don't think he's worth his price. So for that reason, I do like Lamar Jackson this week, kind of exactly what you were saying, Corey. So who I will focus in on is Joey B in the morning. And I also like Dak Prescott. I think that Vikings-Dallas game could be the shootout of the week. We know that it's going to be 2 Super Bowl contending teams coming out of the NFC. So I think they're going to be going crazy in this game. It's a huge moment for them to test their playoff readiness. So I really like the scoring potential for Dak there, and love the CeeDee Lamb stack. So for Joe Burrow stack, I'm actually going more the Tyler Boyd route. I just like that a little bit more against a heavily blitzing linebacker core on the Steelers. I think that opens up the middle of the field a little bit more for Boyd opposed to T. Higgins on the outside. So
I had both those guys in my next 2 guys after Allen and Lamar is Burrow and Dak. I think Dak's my favorite quarterback play of the week.
Yeah.
His price tag of 6.6 going against Minnesota. He's got his weapons. I mean, it could be one of those Dak explosion games, and I do think he's gonna be my favorite quarterback. However, I think Dak does he run? I feel like he doesn't run as much. So both these guys, Burrow and Dak, I'm stacking. Lamar and Allen, especially Lamar, I'm probably only single stacking. Allen mix in single and doubles. But Burrow and Dak, I'm pretty much going to use a lot of double stacks. So Dak with Lamb and Gallup, or Gallup and Schultz, or Lamb and Schultz. That's how I'm going to stack
no
that.
Tony Pollard?
Zeke might be back this week.
Yeah. I don't know.
So what are we doing with Justin Fields?
I'm fading him again. Now, I'm going back to back weeks fading him.
I am too.
I'm just doing it. People can go back to the well with him, and I get it. I have a pivot play actually.
Yeah,
my favorite running back play on the slate. But
I would say with Justin Fields, 3 weeks ago he was 5,600. He's
Yeah.
now 7,600. And they've actually learned the pricing him up works. I feel like I'm kind of the same chain as UPB. Like I didn't play him the last 3 weeks, or I barely played him.
And when he's cheap. Yeah.
And when he was cheap, and now he's 7,600, I'm just going to stay away from him again. And if he puts up 150 yards rushing again and a touchdown, then so be it. But I think you can. I just don't see it keep happening. That's the thing. I could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong the last 3 weeks with him scoring that many points. Okay.
I was early to that party. I was up in the Chicago suburbs talking to my Bears fans on a Saturday night. I happened to change all my lineups. They were bragging about the rookie cards they have of Justin Fields, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet on this guy tomorrow. I don't know. Something was in the air, so I caught him the past 2 weeks. But
yeah, I mean, if you've been on any,
so the risk was a lot lower. But at $7,500, if you're paying up for a quarterback, especially over Dak and Joe Burrow, that's asking a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, he still projects like very well. It's like based off
of
the
Falcons defense, so he's got the matchup now.
Yeah, it's so he'll probably burn me again. But
all right, before we move on to running backs here,
well, I had the one guy that I was like debating because it's a good matchup is Daniel Jones at 5'7". He's like the one where he's like my last guy in, possibly like where I make some lineups with him, but it's just. The thing is, Wando Robinson might miss. Like then you're.
There's not really many good pass rushers.
I just hate
That's
not
been
knowing
the problem with them this year. There's no good stack that you could put.
I know it's
tough.
tough.
The fact that they let Tony just walk out of the door is absolutely mind bending. But the last person I just kind of wanted to touch on, are we just completely done with Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Like after coming out of the bye, like he did throw the ball a lot, and it was against,
the Titans.
The Titans, who have a complete pass funnel defense, and he just still couldn't. Like
42 attempts, only completing 21, one touchdown. Yeah, I mean,
I heard he's out there calling like Seahawk audibles, like he's like lost his mind.
Oh, okay.
He's like out there like using like phrases and words that he was using on the Seahawks, and no one knows. Like the offense is like, what are you saying?
Okay, well that means I have to change my fantasy lineup for this week because
I think he's kind of a fraud. I think like Russell Wilson is like the ultimate fraud.
It's bad. I can't. I was on like and watch this is the 1 week that I'm like, that's it. I'm done with you. He's gonna.
I have to.
And Judy's out. Like he has like his like now before he had Judy Anson. Now he doesn't even have Judy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have to just go back to well one more time and get burned. But I don't know. The matchup against the Raiders is so good. I mean,
What the crazy thing is, though, I think the only team that hasn't allowed a 300-yard passer is the Raiders.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why it's them, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to running back. It seems like there's a lot of options this week. I feel like there might be, if there's a late injury or something, like there might be one guy everyone flocks to, but I think overall the ownership will be fairly spread out. Like everyone's going to have like their favorite guy this weekend, and I think it's going to spread the ownership out. But what are your guys' favorite ones at the top?
At the top, I mean, it has to be Barkley, right?
Yeah, it's so crazy though when guys just get to like this 9K range, they have to do so much for them not to just completely weigh down your lineup. Like last week he went 35 attempts, 152 yards, and a touchdown, 26 fantasy points, which at 8.6 is like, I think last week was different because there wasn't a whole lot of running back options. So he was still ended up being a good play, but typically 26 points at that price is not good.
No.
So that's what's tough. Like, I think he's a fantastic play on paper, but just like Rob, but at 9K, he has to get you like
40,
like 35 plus.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, if he's touching the ball 35 times, I mean, the opportunities are there. Put him in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm gonna still play some, but it's just
he's like a good fantasy player, but DFS wise, I get what you're saying, PB. Like there's especially this week. Like last week, I understand it, not much value. This week, a lot of guys in the $5,000-$6,000 range, like David Montgomery. He's in my pool. I think you get, workhorse running back for 6K. Pretty much similar floor. Maybe Saquon have a little bit more upside, but
Saquon's floor is obviously much higher. But yeah, with Herbert out, I mean Montgomery should have the whole back, like getting everything.
So you got to watch that. I like watching the Zeke injury news. I think Tony Pollard could be another great play in a shootout. So
yeah, I won't play Pollard unless he's out.
There's a lot of guys down there. Cordell Patterson, even Ramondre at 6,700. I just like those guys a lot more. So
yeah, honestly, at the expensive, I guess if you're playing the Dak stacks, you run it back with Dalvin Cook in some lineups. Like if I'm playing a ton of Dak lineups, I'm gonna have some Dalvin Cook, just because it's like Jefferson and Cook, like the two main guys you're gonna run it back with. So I like Cook, but I mean Taylor at 7,800 still pretty good play.
I love that, and he's the most expensive I'm going this week. I think I've come to the conclusion that Jeff Saturday is going to try and rally this into a full-time gig. I like what he was doing. He brought the energy last week. It kind of revived their season. And what did they do? They go back to what they're good at and getting the ball in Jonathan Taylor's hands 30 times a game. That's what they've been missing all season. He hasn't had the volume. So we see that week one out of Jeff Saturday. I don't think it ends here. So for that price, you get, debatably the number one fantasy player coming into the season at 7,800, who might have just found his season magic.
Also, the Eagles front line right now is really hurt.
Without they're bringing in the Dekamasu, like they know they're
Dekamasu.
What is it?
What did you just call him?
The Dekamasu.
The
Dekamasu. I can't. How do you ever say his name? I don't know why. The
no, it's in Tamagu.
See, whatever his.
Yeah, and someone who played in the 90s. It looks like from the pictures I've seen. 35-year-old.
Either way, the Eagles know that that's how they're being exposed right now. And that's probably how the Colts are going to want to attack. So, and with Matt Ryan back there instead of Ellinger, they can't completely, they can't just completely stuff the box. They have to
show Michael Pittman
some
respect.
Yeah. So we've talked about Barkley. We've talked about Taylor. Now we've talked about.
Mixon's in a pretty good spot.
You like Mixon? I don't know. I think if the Bengals win, it's going to be through the air. And I understand Joe Mixon.
Okay, let's back in week one when they played the Steelers, he had 35 touches. He had 27 rushing attempts and 9 targets.
Yeah.
He didn't score, and he still had 21 fantasy points. He is past his passing volume. He's getting 5+ targets a game. And then he's either at over 20 rushing attempts or he's under 10 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
So it's weird how they're using him but
I think I'd rather go somewhere else.
I'm going to have some Mixon this week. He's not necessarily my favorite, but there's a lot of plays
dude. So Cordell Patterson,
Montgomery, I think might be one of my, when we were talking about leverage off of Fields, if people are going to go back to Fields, give me David Montgomery at 6K for finally some of the touchdown regression to come off of Fields scoring the rushing touchdowns in 5 straight weeks, and some of that going to their RB1.
Yeah.
And that's great leverage off of Fields. I think he's going to garner some ownership. He'll be
Herbert being on. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be
okay.
But.
All right, so we go below that. So we have I do like Patterson this week as well against the Bears. The last 2 weeks, Patterson kind of was, slowly brought into the offense off his injury. Dude, I could see him touching the ball 20 times, 125 yards and 2. I honestly could.
Revenge game, his old team,
That's true. But so
let's just say, what's the cheapest running back you're going to play? Let's just do that.
I'm going to go down to 5,300.
Who's that?
Brian Robinson Jr. against the Houston Texans.
Okay, my cheapest is Gibson at 5.6. I prefer Gibson to Robinson. Robinson proved again that he's not a good running back in the last game.
He had 26 attempts, 86 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's not good.
He touched the ball. Okay, Gibson.
I'm
He had 14 attempts,
Yeah, he had half the attempts and
half the yards.
Okay. Gibson, Brian Robinson, like I just cannot see. He's gone so many games where he's just done nothing with his touches. Like he gets like 3 yards a carry. Gibson gets the pass work too, which raises his floor even higher and his ceiling. And so if they're going to be the same price, like I'm just going to play the guy that I think has way more of a ceiling. Brian Robinson isn't really catching passes. Like how is he ever going to put up 30? Like
they're playing Houston. It's not like
they're in a split backfield. He doesn't get the pass down work. And like he would literally have to run so hot on the ground and then score like 2 touchdowns, and Gibson like somehow do nothing the whole game.
Okay, barring 2 games, Gibson has no more than 4 targets. In 2 games, he got 7 targets, and then 1 game he got 8.
That's a lot more than Robinson's getting.
I understand. I just prefer, I don't know, especially against the team that you're just running just running the ball a lot. I prefer the pure runner over Gibson, especially someone who is going to be basically special teams player at the beginning of the year. So
then they realize Robinson's not very good.
All right. Well, let's go to receivers because this is where you find the diamond in the rough. And when
last week it was Mr. Christian Watson at like 2% ownership.
Nick did name Christian Watson.
I did. Did I play a lot of them?
On the show, yeah, he did.
Oh my gosh, Nick.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Wasn't in the Millie Maker lineup. I had him in a multiplier, which didn't go well. So thank you, Corey. But that might have been from some other very questionable plays that we won't.
I mean, if you had some questionable plays surrounding him, but yeah, I mean, Watson obviously found himself to a very good game. But starting at the high end, who do you guys like? A lot of receiver stuff comes down to the quarterback you're playing with. Like, whatever quarterback you're playing in that lineup usually determines what receiver. But what do you guys like?
I mean, I think it's us talking about, that Minnesota Dallas game. It's Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. I think Jefferson we saw last week is just basically unguardable. And CeeDee Lamb actually had, his 2022 come out game, with 15 targets, 11 receptions, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, those are numbers that you want. That's numbers you want to see every week for your receivers. And I think if this is going to be a high scoring game, like we kind of think it might be, I'm going to be heavily taking CeeDee Lamb. Yeah,
he's going to be hard to avoid with your DAC lineups. Jefferson is just like, my gosh, his price, like I know he's put up, okay, let's see what his game log and when it would have been like optimal based off of. So 38, yeah, that at 9K, you're looking great. And then he had a 42-point game in week 1. That would have been optimal. But then he has 34, which is like pushing it to where like that's still great. But like, I don't know how in a large field tournament, if that's going to do it for you. Maybe a small field tournament. Like, I feel like he's only had 2 like large field tournament winning weeks. And he's at his highest price tag.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like Hawkinson's taking much away from him at this point, which we thought might happen, but
it's just, that's such a tough price. Like, imagine how expensive your lineup's looking if you play Dak, Lamb, Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean,
left over.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a lot, but
I think you either have to do like Dak, Gallup, Schultz, Jefferson, or like Dak, Lamb, Schultz, Thielen, or something. Like, I think that's how you have to play this game almost. I don't think you have the salary to fit like.
I'm running it back with Hawkinson.
Or Hawkinson. But what do you guys think? Like, I have Lamb was my favorite like guy up there. Obviously playing Allen, I like Diggs, but I like Amon-Ra still. Like, this dude is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
he's very good at football. He's got a lot of volume. I think he was back up to 12 targets last week. So
yeah,
definitely
you like to see that.
Okay, what about below? Like, we like Higgins or Boyd. Nick, you said you like Boyd more.
Yeah, I like Tyler Boyd. I just think matchup wise, you're gonna have to deal with Minka Fitzpatrick. Bothering T. Higgins.
I just don't like the price. Like, the price on Boyd is rough.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to be extremely low owned because of it. Because anyone that's like, oh, Boyd 6,500, what's Higgins at 71? I'm playing Higgins.
Yeah. So that's part of it. But also in the same price range, same division, I think Amari Cooper could be a good play. We know wide receivers always do better in dome situations, and hopefully you get a lot of the crowd who made their lineups when they saw the forecast in Buffalo and just avoided Amari Cooper. So now you get him in a dome right outside of Cleveland in a high scoring game where they're going to have to pass a lot to stay up with the Bills. So I like the game script for Amari Cooper, and we know he's their number one target there. So he's probably my favorite play in the middle there.
All right. Well, what about Brandon Cooks?
I think he's lost the starting position to Nico Collins. I think I'd rather have Nico Collins cheap.
I like both of them, but Cooks just has that like home run ball upside. But yeah, I just want to target this Washington secondary every week. So yeah, I will be having some of Cooks and Nico.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you hit a nail on the head there with the cheap guy, Corey. Nico Collins potential. We're talking about a guy who's in the 4,100 price range, and he's debatably a number one receiver. So, had 5-6 catches last week. I think he had 16 fantasy points. So for 4,100, he's certainly paying for himself. Against the bad secondary. The Giants are much better defensively. So I think he's got a good opportunity in front of him. We'll see what he can do.
One more before we move on here that I'm just kind of questioning is Scary Terry at 5,900 is, I know it's Houston's been pretty good against the pass, but
I just think he's going to be really popular.
Like, you think
really popular?
I mean, he's literally the only one that's getting targets on that team right now.
And I know
the way to beat the Texans is through the run game, so he could totally go like 4 catches for 40 yards, but it's just something I saw.
I'd pivot. I think McLaurin might be like one of the highest owned receivers on the slate, because usually people go like, okay, they get their expensive receiver, they get a cheap guy, and they get a mid-range guy. And like in the mid-range, it's pretty barren, and everyone's going to go to McLaurin because of that. And I think I'd rather just pay $100 more and play Sutton. Like, I think Sutton with Judy out of there, like he could, if Russ throws the ball like 30 plus times, I just don't see how Sutton's not getting at least 10 targets.
That's true. Yeah, you're right there. All right. Anyone below the 4,000, 4,500 mark that we are kind of looking at? I mean, we said Nico.
Ben, the Saints are like legit decimated on defense, and it's looking like Stafford's actually going to play. And with Cup out, like, I think you have to have interest in one of these Rams receivers, like whether it's Allen Robinson. They priced him way up though, so that's like,
yeah, he's 50.
You could still play him. Like, I'll probably still play some of him, but like Van Jefferson has home run ball potential, and he's 4,500. I prefer him to Ben Skowronek, who doesn't, like, I just don't see like that home run ball. Whereas Van, I do.
Yeah. I would. Paris Campbell came off another really good game last week. 9 targets. I know. I can't seem to play him, that guy, even though he's on my Colts. Like, I just can't seem to play him at all. So, all right, I think that's going to be it. I don't think there's really anyone else. I mean, if you're going down to $3,000 for a receiver, you should probably redo your lineup because there's nothing down there.
Tight ends. Let's get to tight end, because this is a weird week.
So you have Andrews is the highest at 6,800, which I think if you're playing Lamar Jackson, you automatically have to play Andrews if he's playing.
Yes. And is he back this week? For sure.
He's still questionable. I mean,
he likely would become like a cash game lock at his price if Andrews is out.
Okay. Yeah. I'd see that. Yep.
And like, he would be hard. I mean, with Bateman out and stuff, that would be tough. You could not avoid him in cash games, and then in tournaments he would be a tough fade, but you could fade him, I guess. What were you guys' favorite guys? Like, I don't know, the Hawkinson against the Dallas, like the defense, like I feel like that's where Dallas is like good.
2 games with the Vikings, he has 19 targets and 16 catches. So
I know, but I'm just saying against Dallas.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's Dallas, but again, if the way to beat Kirk Cousins is to get pressure on him, he's gonna be looking to get the ball out as quickly as possible. So, Hawkinson's gonna be running the short route.
Yeah, Thielen too.
Yeah.
The Diggs will probably be on Jefferson, although I mean that I don't worry about that matchup at all for Jefferson.
No, I don't either. I'm gonna go back to the well with Dulich. He's 3,800 against the Vegas Raiders. I like him there.
I like him a lot.
What
I
do we-
like Hurst with Burrow lineups, like because it's like tough to usually play like to take two receiver spots up with your quarterback just because they like have to go crazy to be optimal. And I usually like doing like the wide receiver tight end. And so with Burrow, I do like Hurst against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then of course Dak Prescott. I like playing Schultz with Dak.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I struggle with Hawkinson because I don't really want to play two tight ends this week. And like if I play Dak, I'm playing Schultz typically, and then I don't get to Hawkinson. That's where I struggle with that.
What are we thinking about Cole Kmet? What are we doing with him?
I am not playing Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Too expensive.
I mean, he's 4-1 now, which I'm just Kyle Pitts at 4-4. Give me him. Like I still like Kyle Pitts against Chicago. Like you're telling me I could play Kyle Pitts at 4.4K and Cole Kmet $300 cheaper. There is zero chance I would ever play Cole Kmet over Kyle Pitts. Just
I mean, he's putting up multiple 20-point.
I get it, but that's that's hindsight and looking forward. I'll never do that. So
yeah.
What about the last guy with Goddard out? Like this guy, bare minimum, he opens a lot up. Jack Stoll against the Colts.
Colts they get beat through tight ends. So Jack Stoll it's not Goddard, but it's definitely
he's 2.5K.
So he's bare minimum. I think he's probably the cash game. I mean, he could probably be the cash game play. I don't know. All right, let's see what we can build here in a lineup. And
let's build a lineup now. So what was a quarterback like? We liked. I mean, I have Lamar.
I really liked the Cowboys stack.
Yeah, so do I. I think we get Dak in here.
All right. And are we going? I mean, I prefer
different. I mean, I do too, but I really think all year long these Vikings guys the speedy guys have just gotten the best of Minnesota. So I do like Gallup as like leverage off of Lamb.
A lot of people are going to be on Lamb this week after last week. So I like the Michael Gallup stack.
But I mean, I'm not I play Gallup and Schultz. Like I wouldn't just do that Gallup stack.
All right, so we'll go Gallup and then we'll play Schultz with it. Is that what you guys want to do? Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
And then we want the Minnesota guy. Are we thinking Thielen, Jefferson, or Dalvin?
I personally don't like Dalvin or Thielen. I would rather.
I just think. I mean, we could try to see what we could do with Jefferson. It's just, it's going to be tough.
I mean, what do you think about?
I like.
And this is under the case that Zeke sits. You do Tony Pollard and Michael Gallup, and then you run it back with Hawkinson.
Minnesota hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher the whole season, and I think Zeke's playing. So like that, I'm just probably not. I'm not gonna. Pollard has had 2 phenomenal weeks. I'm not like this is, and I've played him both weeks. Like he's been one of my highest owned plays, but I'm fading Pollard this week.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So let's keep this. All right,
we might end up having to go down to Dalvin or Thielen in this lineup, but we'll see.
Okay. Running backs.
I like Montgomery a lot.
I do too.
Yeah. I like him and JT probably the most.
Okay, hang on. Before we do that, let's grab a defense here so that we can see what.
Start at the bottom. Go to the bottom. Let's just see what we have.
That's a travesty, by the way.
The Texans versus Washington is kind of nice. That's cheap.
I mean,
Yeah, I like that.
But who else is? Then we have
Raiders.
I prefer the Texans over the Raiders at home. And
Okay.
then there's the Saints versus the Rams and the Rams versus the Saints. I'll be playing both of those defenses.
Yeah, I like the Rams defense. I would say Rams, Texans, or
Let's
Rams
go
or
Texans. Let's go Texans to save 500.
I'm
Okay.
trying. Let me see if what defenses are looking to be.
I mean, can we sneak
keep
JT
building,
in
keep
there?
building.
Huh?
Can we sneak JT in there?
4,300. That leaves us with a receiver we can get Nico here.
Yeah.
And then that leaves you with 4,500, which is not much.
Well, we don't want Nico versus the.
No, we have Texans. You silly.
What if you played? Can you get
You-
Allen Robinson
No, you can get
or
Jefferson
Van Jefferson? Sorry.
Yeah, but
I
then
like
I don't like playing like.
to
So
41.
right now we have a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 2, and a wide receiver I want a little more wide receiver ones. Like I don't know. I think we come off of Jefferson for Thielen and then have more money. I mean,
Okay.
let's see what we have when we play Thielen.
He's still a wide receiver too.
Then you have
Yeah,
8,100.
but then we can get.
I mean, you
Debatably wide receiver 3. I don't love Adam Thielen anymore. I think he's just like too old for me.
then you can get up to,
You could play. Keep going up to what's all the way up at 8. Dalvin, AJ Brown, Chase. We could go up at defense and then pay down at the
Or
low
or
7.
you get Amon-Ra.
or yeah, we could do here. Let me get that Texan.
But then we'd still have more money. Is what I'm saying.
I know. So we have 900 more.
So that
Drop Texans. You can get up to
the Saints.
Saints or Rams. I prefer Rams just because Saints are still rolling out the red.
Yeah, but I hate leaving $400. Like it's like you never want to leave that much.
Okay. We need Thielen. I don't know why I did that.
We'd come off of Nico.
4,500 gets you to.
I do like Nico.
It gets you the Van.
Yeah, I don't mind Van. And does Van return punts? Might have that because if Van returns a punt for a touchdown, you get that double dip Rams defense and Van.
I think I'm not sure if he does or not.
I don't think so.
Well, I still like that lineup. Like Van, like I'm telling you, the Saints defense is like decimated, and Cooper Kupp is out. Like we don't even really know who the wide receiver 1 is. Like could be. We don't know who Stafford's gonna want to look towards the most.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully that's the lineup that does it this week. I'm trying to quickly just look up to see who it's Brandon Powell. So no.
Oh, that guy. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this video, and we'll be back next week for week 12. Hope you guys win some money this week, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Like and subscribe, share with your friends. Maybe next week we do a giveaway. You never know. So we will see you then.